this thing called colony collapse disorder was found on my watch when I was the chief of the apiary section in Florida. And so had beekeepers, commercial beekeepers, calling me and saying that their bees were gone and their colonies were weakening. And you know how many times I'd heard that over the years, just because of varroa mites and some other things. And you listen appropriately and what have you. And this one beekeeper kept calling me and calling me and calling. So finally, I thought I would just go out and look at his bees with him. And it was revelatory because he was absolutely right. The bees were gone. They weren't dead on the ground. They weren't like it was a pesticide poisoning. They were just gone. It's like they'd been beamed up or something. And so I remember sitting on my bedroom floor at 10:30 at night in Florida, talking to colleagues from USDA and universities and what have you. And we had talked about this before, and they had gotten some reports, and we had no earthly idea what was going on. So we thought we would call it a disorder, and it would be gone like everything else in the beekeeping industry, and in a year, everybody forget about it. So we thought we'd call it colony collapse disorder. And golly, the media clamped on this like crazy, and it didn't go away. I wish we hadn't called it a disorder now. I wish we had called it something else. But anyway, we called it colony collapse disorder. And long story short, honeybees, when they're sick, they're altruistic. They want to protect their colony. They want to protect their sisters, because all the worker bees are sisters, and they're all females. That's kind of like our society. The whole society is run by females. And so those bees who are sick, I'm sick. So I'm going to leave, fly out, and I'm going to die. I'm going to commit suicide and not come back because I'm sick, and I might give something to my sisters. And so when you have a lot of bees in the colony that say, I'm sick, they each make this individual decision to fly out, sacrifice themselves, and not come back. So the colony population drops dramatically over maybe a couple weeks. It might take to do this, but it drops. But there's no dead bees like some issue happened or what have you. They're just gone. And so we, have figured out over time, what is going on and what has happened. But over the years, remember I told you that honeybees swarm maybe once or twice a year? Well, beekeepers can do what an artificial swarm, it's called a split or a divide. They can take one live colony and artificially divide it and make two out of it. So if you say you have 1,000 honeybee colonies, and for one reason or another, 500 of them die, you can take that other 500, divide them, and you're up to 1,000. Again, your colonies might not meet the preconditions for a pollination contract because they're weak and they have to be built up, but you can replace those bees. And so what commercial beekeepers are doing now is they're splitting and dividing all year long, 24/7, 365, knowing that they're probably going to lose 30 to 40% of their colonies. So they're doing it all year long and building in some extra. So now we actually have more honeybee colonies in the United States than we have had in several decades because of that. Now, is that a good model? Is that a great way to do it? No, that's done out of fear, but that's where we are right now.
Okay, so there are more bees now than there were when you guys sat around and named colony collapse disorder, but that still doesn't explain what's going on with colony collapse disorder.
So and I've done this to you before, but humor me anyway, make a fist. Put this fist on you someplace, anyway, whatever you want to do it. Anyway, so this fist represents the Varroa mite, Varroa destructor mite. This is a parasite of honeybees, and it was accidentally introduced in the United States. It's a parasite on an Asian species of bee that made its way to Europe and the United States, and so it's everywhere in the world now. And this mite is kind of like a mosquito. It's when it bites a honeybee, it's vectoring or giving that honeybee viruses and has some immune system issues and infects nutrition and what have you. So if we don't keep this varroa mite under control, that's where I said that a honeybee colony is livestock now, because if they swarm and go out on their own and nobody is managing for this varroa, they'll be dead in a year or so because of all the implications from having this huge parasite on them. Think of you having a parasite on you the size of a rat. It's a big deal.
Thanks for watching this podcast short. You can find the rest of the interview on my channel. If you like this video, I hope you'll hit the like button and consider subscribing. I release a new interview with an interesting person every Wednesday morning.